What is going on, guys? My name is Taylor Stuber. I'm here to break down this Saturday, December 12th, 7-game NBA preseason slate on Draftkings Fanduel and the sponsor of the show, Prize Picks. I appreciate you guys being here. We had a lot of growth yesterday, a lot of new subscribers, a lot of new people in the Discord. I would highly recommend you guys doing so. If you guys could like the video and comment below, that would greatly help me, and I would really appreciate that. It helps the YouTube algorithm gets my video out to more people. And of course, guys, if you guys are wanting to get the most up-to-date news, like I said, join that Discord. The link is in the description, but as well as going over to Twitch and following me over there. I will be live streaming about an hour and 15 minutes before lock, breaking down all the latest news, which is by far the most vital piece of action you need to take in these preseason slates, because there's a lot of players being ruled in and out, and a lot of coach speak on how many minutes these guys are going to play. Like yesterday, we knew that the Orlando Magic and Atlanta Hawks were going to play about 25 minutes, and they did really well in those minutes, and it was really important to have those guys in. As well as later in the slate, we heard about the same things when it came to the Portland Trailblazers and Sacramento Kings, which I talked about in that video. So make sure to follow me over there. And like I said, the Discord is very important to be in. I know we got like 50 new people in there, always sending in new information. But yeah, let's just get right into the slate we have at hand today. So we'll start over here on DraftKings with the Toronto Raptors. I'm going to go team by team. I have a giant list of notes that we need to go through. I spent the last night and a couple hours this morning finishing this list. This list has already been posted in the Discord. Another benefit of doing that, you're going to get my information ahead of time before I make these YouTube videos, so you can get a head start on your lineups. But with the Toronto Raptors, so we saw last year that the starters played anywhere between 18 and 28 minutes. And we saw that really happen throughout the preseason for the Raptors. Nick Nurse is one of the coaches that plays his players big minutes in the regular season, and the preseason is just the same. Now, I think Kyle Lowry is a bit too expensive at 8.3K. Siakam, Fred VanVleet, I'm definitely more interested in see if Siakam can right the wrongs of what he did in the bubble. It was pretty awful the way he played. Even Nick Nurse was going after him, talking about how poorly some of his players were playing, mainly talking about Siakam. But with this Raptors team, they did lose Ibaka and Gasol, which I think is pretty important, even though they did replace him with Aaron Baines and Alex Len. And of course, Chris Boucher should gain a larger role this year, playing a lot of minutes at the 5. But with Ibaka and Gasol, they were super offensive minded. They had the ball in their hands a lot, whether it was Ibaka for a usage standpoint or Gasol just cutting guys, getting to the basket. It's going to give more assist opportunities to other guys and more usage to be spread around, because guys like Baines and Len don't take up all that much. Even though I do like Aaron Baines and Chris Boucher quite a bit. Boucher averaged 1.05 fantasy points per minute. He should be in the rotation in the first half, backing up Aaron Baines. Now, we saw that Aaron Baines has already been named the starter for the Raptors. And so these are what we saw yesterday with Bruno, Talon Horton-Tucker, Harry Giles, these guys that are at thin positions for teams that's going to be in the rotation in the first half, but they are young enough to play deep into the second half as well. Those are the kind of guys we want to target, and Chris Boucher is one of those guys at 4.7K, and like I said, averages over a fantasy point per minute. And he will chuck the ball and get to the rim at will in the second half when given the opportunity. So I do like Chris Boucher quite a bit at 4.7K. I think you can expect 22-24 minutes out of Aaron Baines. He's a pretty solid play as well. And then if we're going to talk about a deeper sleeper with Terrence Davis at 4.5K. Last year, he averaged 0.95 fantasy points per minute, but did really well in the preseason. Should play deep into the second half as well, and should be in the rotation in the first half. So I do like Terrence Davis as a GPP dart throw. Nothing I'm targeting heavily though. Move over to the Charlotte Hornets. So the young starters played low 20s minutes. Vets like Batum, Zeller, they barely played. Obviously, Batum's not there anymore. They did add guys like Gordon Hayward, who is an older guy, pretty injury prone. I don't expect him to play all that much. I expect in the middle teens, 15, 16 minutes. So I'm not targeting him. But these guys are pretty affordable. If we get word that they're going to play more than 20 minutes, I'd be more interested in them. But a guy like LaMelo Ball, a third overall pick this year, I was really high on. I personally think is the best player in this class. We know when he's out there, he's going to chuck. His playmaking ability is amazing. He's going to be in the rotation, obviously. Whether he's a sixth man or if he's starting over Terry Rozier, we don't know just yet. But regardless, he's going to be in that rotation in the first half. Should be really active when he's out there, and he should get good run in the third quarter and perhaps the fourth quarter. He doesn't have the opportunity to play the summer league, so they might give him an extra look into the fourth quarter. And at 5.1K, I think that's pretty enticing. Also, last year, another thing to note, Caleb Martin and PJ Washington, especially PJ Washington, is going to be in the rotation in the first half. Both those guys ended up closing the preseason games. And so they were picking up minutes well into the 20-minute range. So those are some guys to look after. Move over to the Indiana Pacers. Now, these guys played in overtime. If you saw my video yesterday, I was talking about the Kings. They played their starters in overtime, 30-plus minutes, and that was against the Indiana Pacers, who matched them with their starter minutes. So we could see something similar in this game. TJ Warren and Jeremy Lamb are obviously out. Unlike last year's preseason, we do have Victor Oladipo on this team. So I am going to want to play some of these guys from Indiana if we know that they're going to play well into the third quarter. And if the fourth quarter they're out there, they're going to be must-haves. So with TJ Warren and Lamb out, we might see one of the Holidays, whether it be Aaron Holiday, Justin Holiday, or even Edmund Sumner, get the start. I'm not really interested all that much in them. But one of the sneakier plays in this game is going to be Goga Bitadze. We know how good he is on a per-minute basis when he gets the opportunities. Should be backing up Miles Turner. Obviously, Domantas Sabonis is going to get some run as the backup five as well. But Bitadze, if he gets the backup rotations in the first half and then plays deep into the second half, he could be one of the sneakier GPP plays. But I'm going to stick with the starters for the most part. Malcolm Brogdon at 6.2K just seems entirely too cheap. We saw last year in the bubble, he was reaching that 8K range, even above that. So 6.2K is quite the discount, especially if we have the security in minutes with this Indiana Pacers teams, more so than we do with others. On the opposite end of the court with the Cleveland Cavaliers, their first game was overseas, and the vets barely played, especially Kevin Love. Kevin Love really didn't play all that much at all in the preseason, really only played the first half, never came in the second half. So that's an easy fade for me. Andre Drummond is young enough for me to see him playing the mid to high 20s like we saw in most of the preseason games for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Obviously, he picked up that player option. Big money for Andre Drummond. So I think he's one of the better plays at 7.9K. We just don't have much security in the news just yet. That's something we're going to have to monitor throughout the day for all of these teams, really. Isaac Okoro could start. Porter Jr. is questionable. I don't think he's going to play. Isaac Okoro, obviously, their lottery pick rookie this year. He should start regardless, I think above Kevin Porter anyways. And this is a perfect example of a guy that's going to play big minutes in the first half, should be aggressive when he's out there, and should have the opportunity to play into the third quarter and perhaps the fourth quarter. So at 4.5K, I think Isaac Okoro is a pretty solid play. And also we saw Coach speak saying that Okoro has to earn his starting spot. So I think that's going to give him even more reason to be aggressive out there offensively. Onto the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, this is just a brand new team. It's pretty crazy. So Billy Donovan's gone, but the new coach was already the assistant coach last year, so I could expect somewhat similar rotations. But yeah, we're without. There's no Schroeder, no Gallo, no Steven Adams, obviously. Those guys left the team this year as OKC is completely rebuilding. And then with their new guys, there's no Al Horford, Ariza, Baisley, Dort, Justin Jackson, Darius Miller, Ty Jerome, Isaiah Roby. I mean, they're and Theo Maledon, I don't think is going to end up playing this game. So they're really, really thin. We saw last year that only one of the guys really played significant minutes, maybe two guys actually, last year in the OKC first preseason game. That was Dennis Schroeder with 22 minutes and SGA with 26 minutes. At 5.9K, with all of these guys out, SGA is going to be this entire team. He is the best point per dollar play on this slate. I imagine he's going to be extremely high owned, and I would not want to miss out if I were you. 5.9K is just entirely too cheap, and as well as all those guys being out, George Hill is clearly a veteran. He's not going to have much of a role on this team, and so I don't think he's going to play all that much either. Another guy that I'm interested in on this team is Frank Jackson. We know that he's flashed a ton of offensive upside and fantasy upside with the New Orleans Pelicans. He came in with over a trade not too long ago. He is minimum price, and he's definitely going to be in the rotation in the first half and should probably close the game, I would assume, seeing how thin this Thunder team is. So I do like him quite a bit. He's done really well in preseasons in the past. The San Antonio Spurs. So we're dealing with Popovich here, which can be difficult to really read. But the veterans last year, like LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMar DeRozan, really did not play all that much in the preseason. We see that LaMarcus Aldridge is questionable as is. I wouldn't be surprised if both those guys sat. As well as DeJounte Murray and Jakob Poeltl. They barely played in the preseason last year. Murray obviously was coming off an ACL injury last year, so it could be different this year. And then one of the guys I was really interested in playing in this slate was really all three of these guys in Keldon Johnson, Derek White, and Lonnie Walker. Keldon Johnson and White have already been ruled out. Lonnie Walker is doubtful, so I don't think that any of these guys play, and so they're going to be pretty thin, and that's going to lead me to play a guy like Patty Mills, who is only 5.2K, but should be leading the offense for most of the game because with how thin that they are and how little they're going to play guys like DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge, I think that he plays in the 22-24 minute range if I had to guess. So I like him quite a bit. And then another guy in Luka Šamanić, who was a rookie last year coming into his second year. He's minimum price. He flashed a lot of offense, did really well when given the opportunity in the preseason, and we saw later in the year when guys were sitting for the Spurs that Šamanić really showed out when he had that opportunity. And now, that's when he was playing around guys like Keldon Johnson and Derek White and Lonnie Walker and Bryn Forbes, who's no longer with the team. So I do like him quite a bit. I think that his minutes should be pretty secure and will most likely close out this game against an already poor OKC defense, but it's going to be that deep bench for the Thunder. So I do like Luka Šamanić. I doubt he's going to be very popular at all. Move over to the Dallas Mavericks. So the starters barely played in the first couple of games, or in the first game rather. Porzingis and Doncic were both out. Obviously, Porzingis is going to miss the beginning of this year anyway, so he's not going to be in this preseason game. But we saw in Luka's first game, he played 28 minutes, and he absolutely smashed. Without Porzingis on the court, Doncic averages 1.74 fantasy points per minute with a 38.4% usage rating. So if we get anywhere, if he enters the third quarter, he's going to be a must play. 8.7K is just entirely too cheap. I'm just going to go ahead and lock him in. It's unfortunate that he is only point guard eligible, but it's going to be worth getting him into your lineups. Him and Giannis are probably two of the two best stud plays on the slate. There's plenty of value to get to these guys. So I'm not going to miss out on playing Luka Doncic. Obviously, I have my Luka shirt on. I'm a huge Luka fan, but this is no bias. He is the best play on the slate, or stud play on the slate, point projected play on the slate for myself. So yeah, I'm not going to get away from him. And then guys like Tim Hardaway, Josh Richardson, I'm not interested in all that much. But something I thought was interesting. So with Kristaps Porzingis out this game, and Powell coming off an Achilles injury, I think they're going to take it slow with him, and he's not going to play all that much in the regular season and then let alone in the preseason. I don't think they're going to play him all that much. Maybe 1 or 2 rotations in the first half. Then they have Maxi Kleber as well, who plays the 4 and the 5. So we're going to see a lot of minutes for a guy like Willie Cauley-Stein, who should easily get into that rotation in the first half. And he's young enough and new enough to this team that I think that he's going to end up closing this game. So Willie Cauley-Stein is one of my favorite plays on the slate, and he's minimum price. He's only $4,000. We know that he bullies bad players when he's out there. He's more of a traditional center, and those kind of guys really do well in these preseason games against inexperienced players. So I do like Willie Cauley-Stein quite a bit. He averaged 1.06 fantasy points per minute last year with this team in Sacramento. So I'm going to be going to Willie Cauley-Stein quite a bit today. Another guy that I think is going to be pretty low owned, but I like him quite a bit. Now the Milwaukee Bucks. So Budenholzer already likes to limit his players in the regular season and especially in the preseason. But I think there's a good chance that they rest guys like Middleton, Drew Holiday, Giannis Antetokounmpo. We saw last year that they rested those guys a ton, and then even when they did play, they only played about 20 minutes. So in Giannis's first playoff or preseason game last year, he played about 21 minutes. And he absolutely smashed. He played into the third quarter when other starters didn't. So if Giannis is playing around 20 minutes, it's going to be hard to not play him, even though he is $9,000 and only playing around 20 minutes. It's just he's so good on a per minute basis. Averages almost 2 fantasy points per minute. It's crazy. And we know Giannis, when he's out there on the court, he's trying. He's not one of those guys who can fade away and not be a part of the offense when he's out there. When he's out there, he's playing hard. And so at $9,000, I'm going to have a ton of Giannis. Him and Luka are by far my favorite spend-up options in this game. My other favorite play on this game, which is right up there with Giannis, is going to be Bobby Portis at 4.2K. He averages about a fantasy point per minute on his career. Brolo doesn't really play all that much, and Bobby Portis should be backing him up. They don't really have any centers on this team with Robin Lopez gone. It's Brook Lopez, then it's Bobby Portis, and then it's DJ Wilson, who's not even really a true center. So I think that we see Bobby Portis back up both Giannis Antetokounmpo and Brook Lopez. So he's going to be one of the first guys off the bench in the first half, if not the first guy, as well as playing pretty deep into the second half. He will chuck when he's out there on the court. That's something he's going to fight for your money. He's going to play for your money. And that's one of the kind of guy that I want in that 4.2K. I absolutely love Bobby Portis. But with this Milwaukee team, it's something we're really going to have to monitor with coach speak, who's going to be ruled in, ruled out, and see if we get a minutes limit from Budenholzer. That would be nice. Then we move over to the Memphis Grizzlies. The first 2 games were overseas, and the starters played about 20 minutes, which is kind of rare. Usually they don't play the starters very many minutes against these poor overseas teams. We see that Jaren Jackson is already ruled out. Brandon Clark is doubtful. Slomo, Melton, Winslow are already questionable. Hazonia was waived. So this team is pretty thin right now. I think Ja is too expensive at 8.5K. Like I said, I think Luka and Giannis are pretty clearly better spend-up options. But at center, man, Jonas Valanciunas is really the front court is really, really thin with Jonas Valanciunas at 7.5K. We know how good he is on a permanent basis. And for the first time in his career, he was playing into the 30 minutes last year. And now without Jaren Jackson and Brandon Clark, the only real backup center they have is Gorgie Jane at 4.2K, another cheap center that I'm very, very interested in. Jane averaged 1.1 fantasy points per minute last year, and he should be in the rotation, the only guy backing up Jonas Valanciunas, and he should be playing pretty deep into that second half. They really don't have very many guys. Even Tilly, their other backup center, is out, and then Porter, their other one, is questionable, leaning towards doubtful. So we should see pretty big minutes from Gorgie Jang. this game. So I'm pretty interested. And if you're about narratives, it's against the Minnesota Timberwolves, where he spent pretty much all of his career against. So like Gorgie Jang quite a bit. Catch my breath for a second. This is a lot of notes to go over. All right, so with the Minnesota Timberwolves, the starters really barely played. Now, obviously, they have a bunch of new faces. D'Angelo Russell joined the team midway through the year. Ricky Rubio is back with the team. Anthony Edwards, first overall rookie. I think he's pretty cheap at 4.7K. Malik Beasley is questionable. Naz Reid and Karl Anthony Towns. Or Reid is out. Towns is questionable. That's definitely something to note, as well as Ed Davis being questionable, because their centers are really banged up right now. So if any of those guys are out and one of them plays, that's something I'm going to want to target. Towns, even when he played last year in that first game, he played 19 minutes into the second half, was really the only stud starter that played in that second half. He got some minutes in the third quarter, and 19 minutes, he just absolutely smashed. So if we know that he's going to play 20 to 25 minutes, I'm interested at 8.9K. And again, Anthony Edwards, first overall pick. He's definitely an offensive-minded player. I think he's a bit overrated in my opinion. I thought that they should have taken LaMelo Ball here, even with guys like Ricky Rubio and D'Angelo Russell on the team. I think Anthony Edwards at 4.7K is going to chuck when he's out there, and definitely going to benefit if Malik Beasley does indeed miss this game. Going over to the Denver Nuggets. The starters played about 20 minutes last year. Jokic missed a lot of the preseason. Barton is doubtful. We know that he missed pretty much all. I think he missed the entire bubble. So he's still doubtful to return. I think RJ Hampton and PJ Dozier should both be in the rotations. These are really the only guys I'm interested in. I think Jamal Murray at 5.6K is too cheap. If he plays about 20 minutes, he should be a pretty solid play at 5.6K. Good matchup against the Golden State Warriors. But PJ Dozier and rookie RJ Hampton, I think, should be in the rotation in the first half, and should run the offense in the second half, given that the Denver Nuggets don't play their starters all that much. And so they should stand to benefit from that. They're pretty cheap at 4.3K and 4.4K, but they're not nearly as good of values as the guys I mentioned in the previous games. On the other side, with the Golden State Warriors, the starters as well only played about 20 minutes. There's no Klay Thompson, no Wiseman, their rookie center, and no Draymond Green. So with no Wiseman, we see that Steve Kerr already said that Kevon Looney should be grabbing the start, and he's only 4.1K. He averaged 0.81 fantasy points per minute. He does pretty well when he's out there, and then Marquise Chris should back him up, and he is 5.5K. I'm more interested in Marquise Chris, given that he averages 1.06 fantasy points per minute, but the price is just is 1.4K more than Kevon Looney. But these are really the only centers that they have on the roster right now with no Wiseman. So they could, and they're young enough to play the entirety of the game. So both these guys are definitely on my radar. I'm interested in playing both of them. And yeah, I really like both of them. Stephen Curry at 8.2K, I think is a decent play. I'm not really interested in Andrew Wiggins. Kelly Oubre at 5.3K, I think is worth a dart throw. But again, I think he only plays about 20 minutes. But a guy like Eric Paschall, I think he's going to grab the start for Draymond Green. And we saw last preseason, he stepped it up in the regular season when this team was really weak. But he's really going to go out there and gun it and play for your money. And that's another guy that we want at 4.9K. I think that he's going to be out there for almost the entire game. He played deep into the fourth quarter, closed a lot of the games last preseason, and I think we could see something similar with this team being more at full strength without obviously Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. Go to the last game, the Phoenix Suns versus the Utah Jazz. Phoenix Suns, man, I think that they might make the playoffs this year with Chris Paul. I think that's a huge upgrade for this team as a whole. Not so great for fantasy wise, but for at least play wise, I think that they are going to take a huge step up. But yet last year, the Phoenix Suns, the starters played about 20 minutes. Crowder's doubtful this game. Cam Johnson played a team high 26 minutes. And I think we could see something similar, especially with Jay Crowder out this game. He's only 4.5K. I do like him quite a bit. I think Ayton's a bit too cheap at 6.6K. Chris Paul, I think, really improves his fantasy value. DeAndre Ayton, that is. So at 6.6K, I like that quite a bit. And now there's no Aaron Baines. Check Diallo was questionable, or was Check Diallo. His team option was declined by the Suns. So they're pretty thin at center right now. But one of the guys that I think is going to be one of the sneakiest plays on the slate is going to be Jalen Smith, their 10th overall pick from Maryland. If DeAndre Ayton's only going to play like 20 minutes and they're this thin at center, the only other centers they really have is like Jonathan Motley, and he's just severely undersized. Jalen Smith is minimum price. It should be the direct backup for DeAndre Ayton, should play minutes alongside DeAndre Ayton, as we've already heard from the coaches this offseason. So he's going to get backup 5 minutes, backup 4 minutes, and should play pretty deep into the second half. So I like Jalen Smith quite a bit. He was an absolute monster offensively at Maryland. So I do like Jalen Smith quite a bit. And then the last team of the game, or on the slate rather, is the Utah Jazz. The starters barely played the entire preseason. Conley's out. Bogdanovich is questionable. We know that he missed all the time in the bubble. Jordan Clarkson just inked a 4-year, $52 million deal. He should start for Mike Conley this game, but how much he plays, I don't know. I think there's a pretty good opportunity that they don't even touch the court in the second half. So I'm weary with playing the starters in this game. The Jazz depth at the 5 is really, really thin. They have Gobert, they have Derek Favors, both veterans, and then they have Udoka Azubuike. I always mess up his name. Azubuike, their rookie this year, lottery pick rookie this year. I think is going to play an absolute ton. With the Utah Jazz last year, Tony Bradley played the most minutes for this team. Now he's no longer with them, so I think Udoka is going to take over that role, play 22, 24 minutes, and be really active when he's out there. Should abuse the deeper bench of the Phoenix Suns, and he should get some run in the first half as well. I don't think that they're going to give Derek Favors and Rudy Gobert all that many minutes. So Udoka Azubuike is one of the better plays, and I'm pretty sure he is minimum price at 4,000. So there's a bunch of minimum price guys in this slate that's going to help you get up to players like Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Stephen Curry, perhaps, maybe Karl Anthony Towns, if we know that he's going to get a good run. But that's definitely something we're going to have to monitor throughout the day. And so make sure to join that Discord with the link below. It's very, very important to do so. If you want updated news throughout the day. And then I will be streaming on Twitch at Taylor Stuber. Link is also in the description. An hour and 15 minutes before, answering all of your questions. I'll get to every single question we got in there. We had over 100 concurrent viewers yesterday, which was awesome to see. And then I'll go over a couple of these prize picks that I'm interested in as of right now, but I will let you know my official prize picks plays in the Discord later today. I think that guys like D'Angelo Russell, I don't think he plays very much. I like the under at 24, and I do like the under on Gordon Hayward at 20. We saw last year that guys like Batum, Zeller for the Hornets only played about 15 minutes. I think we could see a similar situation with Gordon Hayward, with him being an older player on a big deal right now. And then Donovan Mitchell at 24.5, I could see the under on that as well. And then depending on Luka and Giannis, I might like the over depending on what news we get on how much they are going to play. And I like the under on Jrue Holiday as well. I forgot about that. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope to see you in the stream later today. And until next time, peace.